Last Monday, the Government announced the allocation of €375 million support package for schools to reopen this September. As you'll know, Tánaiste, I have consistently highlighted the need for the reopening of schools here in the House, not only because of the importance for children in terms of their education, but also importantly for their own mental health, due to the lack of engagement with classmates and even the lack of a regular routine. And for the mental health of parents, particularly parents who have been juggling with childcare and employment since last March with no childcare support. We've already seen the impact of the lack of childcare on our frontline healthcare staff, and we're seeing it now again as parents are struggling to find childcare for young children. If schools do not reopen in September, then we'll have a far bigger childcare crisis. But before we face that crisis, we have a current crisis when it comes to providing school places for children with additional needs. This has already spilled over into the public domain, with the then Minister for Education, Joe McHugh, writing to 39 primary schools in South Dublin on the 26th of June, directing them to establish special classes for 4- and 5-year-old children with autism, in order to immediately accommodate 43 children who have no school this September. The Minister took this decision following the advice of the National Council for Special Education, the NCSE, who had failed to convince schools in South Dublin to voluntarily cater for students within their catchment. On Tuesday evening, the Minister for State with responsibility for special education, Josepha Madigan, told the Dáil that she understands that some progress has already been made, and the NCSE is working with several schools to establish classes in South Dublin for the coming school year. But while there has been a very proactive approach taken by the Department of Education to accommodate 43 children in South Dublin for this September, the exact opposite approach has been taken for 8 children in South Roscommon and East Galway, where St Teresa's School in Ballinasloe is willing to establish an ASD class from this September, following a request from the very same NCSE. However, the Department of Education Building Unit is stating that they cannot have a prefab classroom in place in time. But St Teresa's are so committed to accommodating these 8 local children, they have sourced alternative temporary accommodation pending the delivery of the prefab unit. Yet the response from the Department of Education is the same. Due to time constraints, the Department of Education cannot open an ASD class in St Teresa's School in Ballinasloe this year. So my question to you, Tánaiste, is why are children with autism being treated differently just because of their address?
Thank you very much, Deputy, and thank you for staying within time. Tánaiste.
I just want to, at the outset, thank Deputy Naughton for raising this important issue, the establishment of an early intervention ASD class in St Teresa's School in Ballinasloe. I know he's a long-standing interest in disability and looking out for the special educational needs of children in his constituency and beyond. And I know Senator Hopkins has spoken to me about this issue as well. The Government is deeply conscious of the worry facing some families in finding suitable accommodation and school places for their children who have special needs. As a government, ensuring every child has a school place is a priority, and we have taken a number of actions to achieve this. Where the National Council for Special Education, the NCSE, identifies the requirement for an ASD early intervention class in the area, the local Special Educational Needs Officer, the CNO, will consider all schools in the area with a view to establishing the class. Early intervention classes are not generally established within special schools, but there are some exceptions in various places in the country. I'm informed the school in question doesn't have the physical space to accommodate an early intervention class within the existing school building. 8 children have been identified by the school, however, and some of these are not yet of age to enrol in early intervention classes. Some are only 3 years old. And in establishing any special class, the NCSE reviews the current and expected future demand for classes, and they have advised the school that they will explore the potential to establish an early intervention class with the school in the near future, but that mightn't be this school year. The NCSE will continue to engage with and advise the school, and the local Special Educational Needs Officer is available to assist and talk to parents of those children with special educational needs about their options.
Can I thank the Tánaiste for his reply? But Tánaiste, the reality is we have children in the catchment of the town of Ballinasloe that have no school place this September. Now, the NCSE has asked schools in Dublin to provide accommodation and have now asked the Minister for Education to direct schools to provide that accommodation. We have the exact opposite situation in Ballinasloe, where a school is willing to come forward and to provide the facility for children with autism, and yet there is a very, very different approach being taken by the Department of Education purely because of geography. Now, Tánaiste, I have one question for you, and that is, can you advise me on the support that these 8 families can expect for their children as and from the 1st of September, and let me know what to say to those parents of those children regarding the additional supports that will be specifically put in place for them when we are not prepared to provide them with a school the same as every other child should be entitled to in this state, regardless of address.
Thank you, Deputy. Tánaiste.
Thanks again, Deputy. There's been a phenomenal investment in special education in recent years. The budget is now nearly €2 billion. 1 in every €5 that we spend on education is now for special education, roughly the same as we put into higher education. And just in the last 10 years, the number of special classes has trebled. There'll be an extra 1,000 special needs assistants for schools this year, and also an additional 120 special education teacher posts, as well as 31 speech and language therapists. So a huge amount of investment has gone into special education in recent years. It is needed, but I know in saying that, that is cold comfort to any parent who doesn't have an answer for their kid or their child this September. Often options can be put together. Sometimes it can involve a home tuition grant. Other potential options can be a place in another school if it's not possible to provide places in these schools. But I do know that Minister Madigan is here. She is interested in the topic, and I'll ask her to speak to the Deputy directly and see if there's more that can be done, because I know that they will want a plan for their child for this September and also for next.